Listen, I wanted to jump on for just a minute and chat with you about a training that I'm currently leading an entire team through, a couple hundred people in an organization, and I think that the ideas might resonate with you. So I want you to see if you see yourself or your employees in what I'm about to share with you. So the custom training that I'm leading right now is rooted in Patrick Lencioni's Ideal Team Player. He wrote the book, The Ideal Team Player, and he also wrote 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Now, the Ideal Team Player has 3 attributes: hungry, humble, and smart. And what he says is you have to have all 3 if you want to be the ideal team player. And in fact, when you're lacking just one of the qualities, or dare we say both, 2 out of the 3 qualities, that problems typically ensue. So I just wanted to break it down real quick for you and see, like I said, do you see yourself or your staff in any of these virtues that I'm going to share with you right now? So what Lencioni says is if we have just one of these qualities, what we end up being is a couple things. And he labeled us, he gave 3 labels: the pawn, the bulldozer, and the charmer. So the pawn is somebody who is only humble. Again, we want humble, hungry, smart individuals to be the ideal team player. If you're only humble, you're modest, you're pleasant to be around. However, you typically hardly ever cultivate really meaningful relationships, and often lack ambition and drive, right? So you lack the smart, you lack the hungry. You might be nice and low key, but your behavior really is not going to be accepted forever. So maybe this is you. Maybe you have these people on your team. The bulldozers, right? People that come in are super hungry, but lacking in humility and lacking in smarts. And we say, when we talk about smarts, we talk about people smarts, emotional intelligence, not IQ, but EQ. And these bulldozers who are only hungry, they really have a one-track mind. They're in it for themselves. They're not in it for the team. This laser guided focus that is selfish and pays no regard to the effects of their behavior on the team typically ends poorly for everybody. And that third person, the charmer, well, yeah, they're emotionally intelligent. They're smart, but they lack humility, and they often lack that hunger to want to take on tasks or be a real team player. So pawns, bulldozers, charmers, definitely not the ideal team player. And that's when we're lacking 2 of the qualities, right? So when we're lacking just one of the qualities, though, we still have issues. So when we are both humble and hungry, but we're not too smart, well, Lencioni refers to that as the accidental mess maker, right? This is, as he describes it in his TED Talk, like the lovable dog that, you love. I have animals in the back here. You love your dog, but, they poop on the carpet in the middle of the night, or they go run around, as my dogs did the other day when it rained, and get mud on themselves and come in the house. Like, they didn't mean to make a mess. It was an accident. They meant well. They intended well, right? They're not trying to make a mess, but it was an accident. We love that dog just like we love that person at the office, or maybe you, right? That accidentally makes a mess, doesn't quite understand because they're not too smart, doesn't understand how they vibrate people, doesn't understand how they affect people, how their words, how their behaviors resonate through an organization, right? So that's the accidental mess maker. Good intentions, but ultimately still ends poorly because we get tired of having to apologize time and time again to say, oh, they didn't mean it that way. That gets tiring for leaders. The second type of what Lencioni says is not the ideal team player, but lacking in one of the qualities, is the lovable slacker who's humble and smart, but not hungry. Right? You might think of Office Space here, right? Peter, it's not that I'm lazy, it's that I just don't care, right? So the lovable slacker certainly doesn't have that drive, that hunger, isn't willing to take on work after hours, isn't stepping up to the plate when they ask who wants to be on this committee, who wants to think through this problem for us. They're just doing kind of the bare minimum and then they're out. In fact, they're typically more passionate about things outside of work than they are inside of work. So this might be easy to tolerate for a moment, but over time it takes its toll on a team when we're having to pick up and do work that other people won't. So if this is you or someone on your team, maybe we need to address this as Lencioni calls it, virtue. Lastly, the skillful politician. This person's hungry and smart, but they're certainly not humble. And in fact, this is the most treacherous, most toxic, most insidious type of colleague that doesn't embody the ideal team player, right? That they're really in it for themselves. And why we call the skillful politician is they're able to mask what they're really about, which is typically selfish self-promotion. So they're smart and ambitious, but they're not humble. They're smart and can portray themselves as humble, though, in interviews, sometimes in team meetings, but usually, as Lencioni says in his TED Talk, by the time we figure it out, there's a trail of dead bodies laying behind that person. So what do we want? We want the ideal team player to be humble, hungry, and smart. If you want to know how to cultivate this, develop this in your team, in yourself, certainly you know where to find us. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.